put your hands together for Mr. Len Cabral.
Listen, if you want to hear about a woman who'd already run out of luck, who gave birth to her 14th daughter, thus complicating the impossible task of feeding her family from an empty cupboard. In an attempt to get rid of her youngest, without God noticing, she would send her off to the deep, dangerous forests for things that were useless and, above all, not to be found. One day, she sent her into the woods for a pound of butter. Without any backtalk, little girl set off to look where everyone would look in the woods for a pound of butter. Walking and daydreaming, she soon found she lost her way and could not find it behind her, in front of her, or on either side. Soon she came across an old woman sitting in the way that old people sit, beneath a tall fern. "Mama, I'm lost." The old woman, sweet as honey, led her into her woodland hut. A hut made of bones and straw and feathers of white birds. The roof was of coconut husk, held together with a spittle from webless spiders. This was most definitely the home of an Obed woman, which some of you might know as a witch. But this little girl didn't know anything about that. For what she didn't know was way more than what she did. Inside that gloomy hut, the unwavering flame of a candle illuminated a rocking chair, which the old lady sat herself down into with a creak, creak, creak. The little girl murmured, "Mama, I'm hungry." And the old crone replied with a voice made thick with flaccid gums, "Me? It's thirsty I am." "Oh, it's thirsty. Bring me some water, and I'll give you all the food you want." But the little girl grabbed a calabash by the side of the door and went down to a nearby spring and came back with a calabash full of water, which the old woman threw down her gullet in one go. More! One trip led to another and another, and calabash after calabash the girl dragged back. The old woman threw it down as if her throat was south of a burning desert. "Mama, I'm hungry." "Well, my darling, you find out my name, and I'll give you all the food you want, and I'll give you a pound of butter, and I'll even show you the way home. But first things first, find out my name." And by disappearing, she made herself invisible. The little girl sat in that hut as the candle flame flickered, causing shadows to dance on the wall like lace curtains blowing in the wind. And soon that candle sputtered out its last glimmer, and the room fell into complete darkness. And the little girl started to cry with such distress that a big, big, big serpent, no, not a snakeling, but a nice, thick, fat snake, stood across the floor as if it were a pet dog, and even rubbed its head against her legs to reassure her, which I'm telling you would have not have reassured me in the least. And alas, I'm no longer a child. Some of the creatures in the forest know her name. Go ask them. Though it was after midnight, the little girl went out into the forest, and under a cathedral of bamboo, she asked 2,000 rats if they knew the old lady's name. Not one of them could tell her the old lady's name. She looked on the velvety underside of leaves and asked the lizards if they knew the old lady's name. They had to confess they did not know the old lady's name. She climbed a custard apple tree and asked the possum, who looked up from its nocturnal feasting, to admit its ignorance of the old lady's name. And then she went down by the backwater marshes and she asked the he-toads and she-toads if they knew the old lady's name. They did not even stop in their acrobatic amours to croak out their ignorance of the old lady's name. And since we're going into detail, she went down she asked the she crabs, the ants, the bugs, the turtles, and the fat caterpillars, if they knew the old lady's name. None of them knew the old lady's name. Soon she sat down by a spring. Now in these days, crabs lived in these refreshing spots with their 7 crab wives, their prodigy of crab children, their inexhaustible swarm of crab cousins, godchildren, and godparents. And the crabs, there was something in those days. They had their long necks, they had pert little heads, topped with cunning little flat brimmed bows with egg-shaped crowns. Oh, the crabs, there was something in those days. Because their straw hats did not cover their ears, they heard all the grapevine gossip, the rancid rumors, the malicious hearsay, the tittle-tattle, the yakety-yak, all the dirt dished out at funerals, and just plain rubbish. And since you made it easy to get lost with all that jabber, when she asked the crabs if they knew the old lady's name, all they said was, Madam Killyman, Bradyman, Killyman, Madam Killyman, Bradyman, Killyman, as they danced in capers around the spring. Now, the thing with the crabs, despite their long necks and their flat-brimmed bows and their egg-shaped crowns, they had more legs than smarts and more claws than brains. When the little girl asked them for something to eat or a way home or just some encouraging words, all they said was, Madam Killyman, Bradyman, Killyman, Madam Killyman, Bradyman, Killyman. Soon the girl grew tired of this and went back to the hut. When the crack of dawn, the old lady appeared, adding the creaking of her bones to the creaking of the rocking chair. Creak, creak. Well, my darling, do you know my name? Yes, I know your name. Good. Because if you don't say my name, I'm going to eat you on the spot. What a fright. The little girl, she lost her memory. She said, Stregonona, Baba Yaga, Amoesha, Yolanda. And names such as that to the sinister amusement of the old woman, who no longer bothered to conceal her true belief. Out from her head came a parasitic vine of hair. She had big yellow teeth. Her feet turned into claws. Her fingers turned into claws. Her feet, how do you like this? Now displayed a clothing sheath of shining gray horn, with storytellers given to exaggeration, called hoofs. And she was just about to come up that chair to devour that little girl, when the little girl called out at dizzying speed, Madam Killyman, Bradyman, Killyman, Madam Killyman, ah! And the lady started to spin like a top, tiny flame jiggling all over her body. Ah, you beat me, you beat me. She pulled fistfuls of her hair out of her head. She beat her right breast over her heart. She had one, but on the wrong side. She said, you can have my house and everything that's in it and all the food you want. And the little girl started to eat. Ha 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 ha! Eating is not the word for it. And Madam Killyman, Bradyman, Killyman, yes, she, the old bear woman of vices and sorcery, the chamber pot crony of more than one old zombie, the Bat King bedfellow and the buff, Package head cook in Hell's Kitchen. She grabbed her cutlass with his blade of misfortune, honed sharp on the grindstone of disaster, and she set out in the early dawn light. And at her outraged approach, the creatures in the forest scattered so briefly as so not to cramp her style, that she did not come across an ant, not even the shadow of one, until she crossed over the savannah, where she surprised a 3-horned bull named Biff. And without court of justice or attorney at law, she lit into Biff. She said, hey, you, Biff! You're the one who knows my name, and you're the one who told everybody my name was Madam Killyman, Bradyman, No, it wasn't me, it wasn't me! And she looked up and down as he shook his shivers. And just to be mean, she ripped off one of his horns, and ever since that day, bulls have two. And then she crossed over the next savannah, she surprised a 5-legged mule named Miles. And without court of justice or attorney at law, she lit into Miles. She said, hey, you, Miles, you're the one who knows my name, and you're the one who told everybody my name was Madam Killyman, Bradyman. No, it wasn't me, I swear it wasn't me. And just to repay his innocence with malice, she ripped off one of his legs. And ever since that day, mules have 4. Then she came down by the spring where the crabs lived, with their 7 crab wives, their prodigy of crab children, their inexhaustible swarming of crab cousins, godchildren, and godparents. And they're all there because some of the she crabs was getting ready to give birth to a whole swarming clutch of crablets. And some were just about to go get the midwife when Madame Killyman, Bradyman, Killyman, as was her wont, she lit into the crowd. She said, "Hey, you crabs, you're the one who knows my name, and you're the one who told everybody my name was Madame Killyman, Bradyman." But before she could finish, the crabs, so incensed at this show of disrespect, yelled back at her and let the spittle fly. "That's right, you old hag, you roly-poly, bat-faced set of toothless gums. We're the ones who knows your name, and we're the ones who told everybody your name was Madame Killyman, Bradyman, Killyman, Madame Killyman, Bradyman, Killyman." As they danced around the spring, well, Madame Killyman, this gave Madame Killyman fits of furry rage, the kind that smooths out your skin by making it all puffy, but leaves you with white hair. She raised that cutlass with its blade of misfortune, and she came down with a flat side thwack on the jolly crabs. Oh, shed a tear. That cut their song short. Their long necks and that flat-brimmed boulders sunk all the way down, and their regal heads, once held on so high, were squished into whatever was left. And ever since that day, crabs have been headless. But despite that devastation, the crabs continue to call out in broad daylight Madame Killyman's name, and their voices echo through the underbrush, climbing up the evergreen fido trees, where it launched itself off to an endless ferment of ears, room among his tattletales, and those detestable souls that write and rewrite stories. And Madame Killyman knew her name was going to be so well known that she would never again be able to force lost travelers to bring her water by subjecting them to that hoary riddle. And somewhere deep inside there, too much self-pity got mixed up with too much ego and too much gassy wrath. In a hot woman's spectacular fashion, she tripped and she hit the ground so hard that it opened up like a well-thumbed book of suffering and slammed shut on her like a Bible of faith. And that place on earth became so unwholesome. If you're poison ivy, poison sumac, and poison oak got its start. And just at that time that happened, the charms surrounding that house exploded, and the light they gave off was something marvelous to see. And everything was made beautiful. The house would turn to the sweetest smelling wood, the kind that's only grown in Guyana. And everything was made beautiful. There were rows and rows of blue breadfruit trees and patches of everlasting yams. And everything was made beautiful. And the girl, she lives there still, along with that snake, who became quite a fine fellow. And they live there together. And everybody is welcome to come there after events like this to hold up a glass in honor of the lovely lady of the house.
Give it up for